Welcome to the Root Dog Show. Good afternoon, everybody. This is Rudy Reyes. This is a very special edition of the Root Dog Show, and I'm going to tell you exactly why now. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. This is Rudy Reyes on the Two Life Stews Radio Network. It's not very often when you've been given opportunities in life, you tend to make the most out of those opportunities, either personally or professionally. And one would hope, whatever those may be, hopefully you take advantage of them in the proper way. When I consider my own professional past, it comes full circle between those things you did do and those you chose not to do. But you better believe, certainly, it applies to my next guest, who was a 2009 inductee into the Pro Football Hall of Fame. He was inducted due to his tenacity, not to mention a short list, making him third all-time with 71 interceptions, a Super Bowl champion with the Baltimore Ravens, and a viable component for the Oakland Raiders, as well as the San Francisco 49ers. And, of course, some accolades you might want to take note of: 11-time Pro Bowler, 6-time first team, 2-time second-team All-Pro, NFL Defensive Player of the Year, AFC Player of the Year. Now, mind you, I am not making short of this, because when you're an interception leader and your accolades include all of that, along with being a Super Bowl champion, look, this guy's a man amongst men. Welcome, Mr. Rod Woodson, to the Root Dog Show. How are you, Rod? Thank you for taking your time out.
Well, thanks for having me on. I appreciate it.
Not a problem at all. Look, I know you're in Napa, California right now as a cornerbacks coach for the Oakland Raiders and preparing for a brand new season. Rod, look, this team you not only played for, but a team that could use your expertise. When you look how last year went down for the Raiders, losing Derek Carr due to a broken fibula during Christmas Eve matchup against the Indianapolis Colts, who in fact just recently had his jersey retired at Fresno State, received one of the largest top salaries in the quarterback position in probably NFL history. As you may have spoken to Derek recently, how does he feel health-wise, and is he ready to take the AFC West by the horns?
Well, he's ready. He's okay. But he's looking good. He's a very humble person, a man that really is more mature than his age. And I've seen him, I think we've all seen him over these last couple of years, kind of go to becoming he is. I think he understands that he's a really good leader for a football team, and I think everybody in our camp is really excited that he's healthy and back.
I do as well. I was actually looking at his press conference, and he had stated that he's going to raise his tithe at church and get his wife something nice, despite what she doesn't want from him, other than just to be who he is. Humble guy. He has a new fan in me, I'll be honest with you. And it was horrible to see him go down the way he did against the Colts last year, but he's much better. I think he's ready to go. And I look at the draft. Of course, you always find those gems. You always find those guys always in the forefront. And, of course, not just a player who gets drafted deserves a spot. They have to earn that spot. You probably know that better than anybody else I've ever spoken to. Raiders grab Garyon Conley, cornerback from Ohio State, now on the PUP list, first overall. Raiders never picked a cornerback in the history of the organization. How interesting is that when you look at this young man and his talent, skill set shown while at Ohio State? Will you hear around the NFL how coaches look at all types of athleticisms? What types of criteria do you look for in any given player?
Well, you kind of look for the little things, when I'm watching the guy on film, if I go to his workout, I'm looking how they jog, how they move, how fluid are they, how their body bends. You play the defensive back position, your body's torqued in all different angles and positions, and you're in the reactionary position all the time. They know where they're going, you don't. So you got to be flexible. You try to find those guys that at the end of the day, really don't fear a little contact courage, and guys who don't fear putting their foot in the ground, as I call it, and go and get interception. And I think that Conley is one of those guys that fits that bill.
Does he fit the Raiders' mold? Is he someone that you can see relying on in time to come with the limited time you've had to watch him?
Well, he fits the mold because I don't think he would have got drafted if we didn't believe that he fit. That he was trying to get down here with the Raiders. I thought, looking at it, he's a really tremendous athlete. He moves well. He understands the game. He's a student of the game. Even though he's on the pup list right now, anytime he's out calling in the meeting rooms, he's giving the right answer. So right now he's acting a little bit more mature probably than his age.
Well, that's actually a good thing, especially for players trying to get into the NFL. And I'm not going to use Manziel as an example, but he certainly put himself as the example, now finding himself outside looking in along with Kaepernick. We're not going to go there with Colin Kaepernick. I've already had that conversation before. But when you look at Garyon Conley, does he have a steep learning curve to get the motion of the NFL speed, or is it something that will come natural to him a lot sooner than later?
Rookies are rookies. All rookies are rookies. They're going to make rookie mistakes. That's what happens. But they learn from those mistakes and they keep coming back. So I don't see him any different than all the other guys that come through the National Football League.
I look at the rest of the draft class, and there was a tone set defensively by grabbing Obi Melinfawu, Shalom Luwani, originally selected by the Chicago Bears but traded, and Trayvon Hester, another one who's picked up by the Seahawks in exchange for Dewey McDonald, and Eddie Vanderdoes, and of course only one linebacker, Markel Lee. Rod, what influence, if you had any at all, in regards to the guys that you'd like to see, including guys like Shalom Luwani and Garyon Conley in the 2017 NFL Draft?
Well, I think we were all excited. Those guys kind of fell to us, and you make your list. You're not going to get everything you want from your Christmas list on a yearly basis of the NFL season, but I think they added to our list is going to put us to where we want to go, in the direction we want to go. We want good pro-type players. We want guys who love the game itself and guys who have a lot of effort inside of them that they want to put forth when they go to practice and in games. And I think everybody that we picked up, I definitely picked them up.
I do as well. I look at Khalil Mack, a little slip-off last year, but interception return for a touchdown to help kind of cap off a year that didn't quite go the way that the Raiders overall wanted to. Khalil Mack, 11 sacks, and he anchors this front seven. Was that one of the reasons why you only drafted one linebacker?
Well, that's above my pay grade as a coach, as an assistant DB coach. But Khalil Mack is an awesome player. First of all, he's an awesome human being. A guy that is extremely talented defensive lineman that he's just starting to find his niche. He's going to play even better than he did last year and the year before that. I think each year as he gets into this thing and the more confidence he gets for himself and the more he understands who he is comparable to the guys that he's going to face on a weekly basis, I think that's how much better he's going to get. And, I think the sky's the limit for him. He's a tremendous athlete that we love having him with the Oakland Raiders.
Last year there were some big plays lost in the secondary, and when I look at the types of big plays against Indianapolis, against other teams, clearly did not work in the favor for the Raiders. But this is basically different. I don't like to look backwards. I don't like diving back into time and say, well, what could have, should have, would have done, but provided the key injuries that existed with Derek Carr, clearly that was the air out of the proverbial balloon, which I think was secondary to McGloin going in, backing him up, Jared Cook going in to back up McGloin because McGloin went down. There was some momentum loss, and it was a swift motion. And I think this team is now prepared, having Derek Carr back inside of the zone, if you will, looking very good. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Woodson joins me here on the Rude Dog Show, and I look for the Raiders to do much more. Of course, fell short to the Kansas City Chiefs. Steelers took care of that business for the second time. One in regular season, one in postseason against the Kansas City Chiefs. One at home and one there in Kansas City. Rod, I'm sure you're not really keeping an eye on what the Steelers are doing nowadays with the lack of the reinstatement of Martavis Bryant. You have your plate full and the things that you have to do. But having been drafted by the Steelers first overall in 1987, having played for them for over 10 seasons, when you look at this situation, do you have any thoughts on it? And do you believe there's an end in sight before preseason starts?
With the Steelers, each year they're competitive. each year, they, starts with their ownership, trickles all the way down through the building, through coach, the head coach over there, Mike Tomlin, and it trickles from the coach to the players. And every year they're competitive. So I would see anything different this year with the Steelers that the previous years I've had. They're going to be competitive on offense. They got some really good players over there. They got some good players on defense. At the end of the day, I would think they're going to put a lot of them into it.
Yeah, we'll see what happens with that. I'd like to see this all go by the wayside and the NFL decide to finally, fully, completely, undeniably reinstate Martavis Bryant. But we lost Dan Rudy. When I say we, I mean the football community. What are your fondest memories of Dan Rudy? How did his impact either shape you or mold you into who you are today?
Just, the Rudy family is just a really down-to-earth family that Christina Lee, the chief, our senior was there, and Dan was taking over the team, and, for them to draft a kid from Portland, Indiana into their organization and give me that opportunity, I'm definitely grateful. I have much gratitude for everything they've done for me. But they definitely are. And with him in general, Dan, he's a good man. He has much influence, and not only in the National Football League, but I think throughout the world. And I say that because, Barack Obama to Ireland, and, normally owners to sports teams don't have that type of title thrown their way or that position given to them by the President of the United States. So I think he understood how much influence that he has because he's such a good person, and when he does speak, everybody listens. And I think the NFL is going to be sorely missed, but I know that his family will carry on his legacy, and the Steelers will carry on his tradition in Pittsburgh to the utmost.
Let's talk about your first interception against Boomer Esiason. I watched that play at the time he was quarterback for the Cincinnati Bengals. You had returned that to the end zone with a finger in the tackle's face. I thought to myself, okay, that's not characteristic. Matter of fact, it was so uncharacteristic that you had Mean Joe Green pulling you aside saying, hey, we don't do that here. What were your immediate thoughts? Was this something you had unheard of? I mean, I know you had coaches pull you aside to say, hey, Rod, don't do this, don't do that. But what were your thoughts? Did you take it personally, or did you feel that your etiquette was not quite there yet?
No, it is what it is. Sports is played with passion and enthusiasm, and that's what came out of me when I was crossing the line. And Joe Green, who was not really me, but he was our D-line coach at the time. He just pulled me aside, and just told me that we don't do that here in Pittsburgh. We respect the game, we respect. We act like we've been here before, and I listened to him. I didn't do it again.
Lastly, but not least, I know you're busy. Ladies and gentlemen, Rob Woodson joins me here on the Rude Dog Show. There was an article that I read about how you auctioned off, and I'm trying to wrap my head around this, you auctioned off and made a conscious decision to sell practically all your memorabilia, from Super Bowl rings to jerseys, a Purdue Sugar Bowl jersey. And I understand you're not a material guy, but this is a material world. People would love to have that stuff. You sent it to an auction. But I have to ask you, was it a hard decision to make for you, or was it in unconscious thought, so you know what, the stuff's gone, I'm going to set it up and it's over?
No, I still have a lot of stuff, all the stuff that I want to keep for my kids. I kept. They have it. Well, they'll have it when I do pass eventually. A lot of times you don't get to choose. Your family, after you pass away, will then put in some type of auction. I saw no better way than fans having opportunities to have a part of that, and be a part of it, who are dedicated fans, to have that opportunity to get those type of items. So I don't think it's a big deal. and I'm not a materialistic guy. And I think when my kids, all the stuff I'm going to teach for my children, they're going to have some pretty good items when it's all said and done.
I know you're not looking forward to retiring, but I'll be honest with you, I'm sure your kids would love to have it in memory of you. So, ladies and gentlemen, Rod Woodson joins me here for a very quick segment here on the Rude Dog Show. Rod, thank you so much. I'd love to have you back on when you're not busy, but I don't know how practical that would be considering the season upon us right now.
Yeah, well, I definitely appreciate you having me on, and anytime I can jump back on with you, I will.
I appreciate that. Thanks, Rod. Take care. Thank you.
Right.
Yeah, ladies and gentlemen, that was Rod Woodson right here on the Rude Dog Show. It's great to talk to a lot of these old-timer NFL guys. Rod Woodson, 71 interceptions. That's third all-time. That's unheard of. It's really unheard of. So he's on a top 3 list of guys who've done the very same thing. I had so much more for Rod, but I know he's busy. I know he has things going on. He's a defensive back coach for the Oakland Raiders. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show on the Two Live Stews Radio Network. And look, because I had so much to talk to Rod about, I know he's got a lot of things going on. Just so everybody knows, Rod Woodson played for the Pittsburgh Steelers, who drafted him. He played for the San Francisco 49ers a year after. He played for the Baltimore Ravens, for which he won a championship in, as well as finishing his career, his illustrious career, at least his playing career, off with the Oakland Raiders, and now the defensive back coach for the Oakland Raiders as well. I know everybody's waiting for preseason. Okay, I know you're waiting. Tomorrow will be the official first preseason game. I can't believe training camps go by so fast. There's so many times you see guys, you see who's in, who's out, who's good, who's bad. Raiders have a lot of guys on their PUP list, but again, it's just a PUP list. It doesn't mean it's a season-ending list or guys out there getting their shoulders injured and having concussions and pulling ACLs and PCLs and knees, and it's just a mess. Tony Siragusa for the Baltimore Ravens, speaking of which, offensive lineman is out for the season. There is no way he's coming back. Another Siragusa down for at least another player for the Baltimore Ravens. So I'm looking forward to this Cowboys-Cardinals matchup going on tomorrow at 5 p.m. I believe it's just going to be only on the NFL Network, so everybody needs to tune in for that one. And thank you very much, everybody. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. I had Rod Woodson on for about 15 minutes. I was really trying to stretch the envelope there, but didn't quite come to fruition. But I look at another preseason game going on in the 9th, the Texans and the Panthers. Now, there's an oddity game for you right there, with Cam Newton having Christian McCaffrey there to throw the ball to. In the background, I look for Christian McCaffrey to maybe get some reps in either in the beginning of the game or the last part of the game. Cam Newton certainly needs to have an extremely much better year this year than he had last year. And, of course, August 10th, you'll see the Falcons and the Dolphins. Whether or not the Falcons can get back with what they have with an addition of a linebacker, a pass-rushing linebacker, I might add, headed into the 2017 NFL season, that remains to be seen. Look, Rod Woodson, he's now 52 years old, won Super Bowl 35. What better guy to ask? And you get a chance to listen to this. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show on the Two Live Stews Radio Network. When you look at Rod Woodson, when you look at his famed career, I mean, the guy has accolades that they blow me away. They completely blow me away because of who he is, what he does, what he's like as a person. And I know he auctioned off some of his things, but to auction off a good majority of it to keep some of those pieces for his kids, I say yes. I mean, why would you get rid of absolutely everything? Absolutely no reason to do that whatsoever. I am live right here. Feel free to chat with me in the chat room here on Spreaker, Two Live Stews. Make sure you check it out. Now, everybody remembers last year's Hall of Fame game. Yes, there wasn't one. It was a debacle. Complete and utter debacle. Kesey, thank you for tuning in. I appreciate you listening in. Anyway, the NFL returns for this Thursday's Hall of Fame game, but you're not going to have any starters. Not only will you not have any starters, you'll see third stringers. You'll see guys who are trying to make the team, and that's what Hall of Fame games are about. That's what preseason games are about. That's what this is all about. That's what this is all about, finding out who's in, who's out, who plays, who doesn't. What are the good things? What are the bad things? Apparently, Bruce Arians of the Arizona Cardinals decided to bench all of his starters in lieu of playing second and third stringers. And he wasn't necessarily quoted as this, but the attitude surrounding what his thoughts were about the starters playing, he was not very happy with what he had saw. It was almost a disruption of what it's really like to start a game, to be a part of the game, to really put yourself involved in the position to make a saving tackle, to make a saving interception defensively. Maybe from an offensive standpoint, be accurate with the football if you're a third string, maybe a second string quarterback, and for a wide receiver to make those turns, to move those hips, to get those balls, to grab them out of the air, to make it a spectacle. But I don't know how much of a spectacle it would be. It sure was a spectacle last year when the field that they were playing on was absolutely horrible. I don't even know what they were doing. It's kind of sad to see that. And from my understanding, I look at the Cowboys. Okay, fine. So Jerry Jones gets into the Hall of Fame. That's great. Good for him. But what that doesn't mean is all of his players they're aloof. There's no foundation. There's nothing going on in the locker room. Nobody seems to have any idea what's going on. There's no leadership. Dak Prescott has his own trouble to worry about. Ezekiel Elliott has his own issues to contend with. It just makes you wonder what's really going on with the Dallas Cowboys. I don't know. I have no idea. Everything seems so well and refined. And when I interviewed Orlando Scandrick at the ESPYs, he certainly he said what he had to say. I don't blame him for doing it. He did it respectfully, but he said what he had to say. And again, I respect that. Being the elder statesman, being the guy who wants to not only prove that the secondary there for the Dallas Cowboys can be assured by him. He would be the one who would solidify it, help the gel process. He's a centrifuge. I know you have the center on the defensive line, and that's great. But when I look at Orlando Scandrick, the guy is a leader. The problem is that there isn't a whole lot of other leaders in that Dallas Cowboys secondary. So it just makes you wonder, oh, Rocca's here. Welcome, Mr. Rocca. You can't hear me. I'll turn it up. You have to turn it up. You have to turn that up because I can barely hear
Time for NFL Numbers Kurt Warner Hall of Fame edition.
That did not just happen right now. There is no Kurt Warner Hall of Fame edition. It kind of leads me to the next point here. And, hey, this is as loud as it goes. Okay, there we go. Is that better? At 100%. Is that better? I think the Dallas Cowboys would be much better if they had a better backup quarterback. Blaine Gabbert will back him up. Luke McCown is a part of that. Dak Prescott. So I think their quarterback situation is already realized. And, hey, I can only turn this thing up so hot. That's right. Better hot than not. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys and the quarterback position. There really isn't an issue with the quarterback position there for the Dallas Cowboys. I think it's more of a unity problem, more of a unity issue. I don't think the guys are on the same exact page. And when you're not on the same page, bad things will happen. They will. If you're just tuning in, this is Rudy Reyes on the Root Dog Show at 2 Live Stews Radio Network. I just had on Hall of Famer, Super Bowl winner, All-Pro, Rod Woodson. I don't know if is there a professional nickname for him? I don't think so. I don't think there's a professional. I think it's just Rod. Just Rod. Because when he called in, I said Rod. So Rod, thank you for taking your time out to join me here on the Rude Dog Show. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. I'm also Facebook Live, so make sure you tune in there. I'm on for about 35 minutes or so. Anyway, thank you for tuning in. This is Rudy Reyes of the Rude Dog Show. We're talking about the Dallas Cowboys and how their quarterback position takes shape. But let's shift gears here. And I was talking about this on SB Nation Radio with Coach Les. Yes, I'm giving you a plug, Coach. With a smile. And we were talking about Colin Kaepernick, and I want to get into this a little bit more. Who knows why Colin Kaepernick does not have a job? Anybody? Anybody? Oh, wait. I think somebody has an idea. Or maybe. No. I have the answer. And we were talking about this on the Coach Les show. The owners don't want Colin Kaepernick starting because they're afraid he will take over. They're afraid whoever the unity voice is, the number uno guy, whoever that is speaking for all these coaches and owners that are laying their foot down. And they're saying that this is not what I want. This is not the guy that I want. This is not the person I want on my team. Why? Well, I know why. Coaches are dying to get him. I guarantee you Harbaugh is chopping at the bit that his brother had him on the San Francisco 49ers, almost reached the Super Bowl. Now he's being blackballed, you're right. Blackballed by the owners, not by the coaches, not by players. Players of the Baltimore Ravens are in a frenzy right now. They want him to be their quarterback. Joe Flacco's out at least 12 weeks, at least. Very minimum 12-week time for him. So, yeah, he's blackballed by the owners in the NFL, which up to this point, no one's really talked about. No one's really discussed it. I'm glad we're having this conversation. Feel free to join in, chat in, chime in. I'm on Facebook Live. This is the Rude Dog Show with Rudy Reyes on 2 Live Stews Radio Network. I think Colin Kaepernick is being blackballed, absolutely. But it's not by who you think it is. Not at all. Does Jerry Jones belong in the Hall of Fame? Absolutely. Will Colin Kaepernick ever have a chance to play to give him the opportunity to even think about Hall of Fame numbers? Hall of Fame opportunities? Super Bowl winning caliber teams that he could be on? I think the Baltimore Ravens certainly want him there, but if the owner says no, the owner says no. That's it. End of story. No ifs, ands, or buts about it. Colin Kaepernick even went out on a PR tirade on Twitter stating he was not going to be that guy, who was not going to kneel during the regular season, have no protests at all, yet still does not have a job. Is it the character, lack of sensitivity? I mean, is this being lost in translation? Does anybody know what's really going on here with Colin Kaepernick and why he does not have a job? Go ask the NFL owners. They'll tell you. They'll tell you because they know. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show on 2 Live Stews Radio Network. I'm here for about another 30 minutes or so. Feel free to chime in. Check it out. I'm on Twitter at Rude Dog Reyes. You can go to therudedogshow.com. This will be posted with video and audio for your listening pleasure. Good afternoon. I love this whole chat thing. Yeah, I'll be honest with you. I was not accustomed to using Spreaker here, but now that it's here, I'm going to say hello to some people who are chatting here. So thank you very much. Thank you for chiming in. Thank you. You guys are hilarious. You guys are funny. Almost distracting. Anyway, who wants to chime into this Kaepernick situation? Anybody? You guys are funny. Look, Colin Kaepernick has the tools needed. He has the skills. He has the experience to get it done on an NFL roster. Players want him. Coaches want him. Owners do not. What is the reason? That's one of those questions I was going to ask Rod Woodson when I had Rod. But he stated, this is not my pay grade. This is not something that I do. This is not my thing. It's not my cup of tea. I don't comment on it because I don't need to. It's not mine. Colin Kaepernick has to be one of the most depressed people right about now. He has to be. There is no reason why he does not have a job other than the owners. If the owners say no, then it's a no. Sorry, Colin. That's about it. There are a lot of conversations talking about another quarterback who is getting entered into Canton, the illustrious NFL Hall of Fame, with the likes of Emmitt Smith, Mean Joe Green, the aforementioned Rod Woodson, so many others, Boomer Esiason, so many. And Kurt Warner, with the greatest show on turf, certainly showed why it was in a dome, but still showed why he belongs in the Hall of Fame. Not only that, not only because he won a championship with the St. Louis Rams, LA Rams. It's so confusing to switch around areas like this. But he led the Arizona Cardinals to their first ever Super Bowl appearance. That's nice. That does not happen very often. Check me out on Spreaker. It's Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show at Two Line Stews Radio Network. Thank you for all the good words, everybody. Cedric, is probably your phone. I have this thing cranked and maxed. Here, we'll do that instead. Maybe that'll do it. Is that better, Cedric? Thank you. Kurt Warner has by far some of the best Hall of Fame numbers, leading two teams. Now look, the only other quarterback to have done that, that's right, Peyton Manning. Now, I haven't had the story to tell everybody about Peyton Manning and how that whole thing worked out at the ESPYs. Photo, I wish I could post it. I could be wrong. Kurt Warner played 124 games, averaged 113 yards per game. His completion percentage was near 70s, 32,344 plus yards. Interceptions, not so good, 128, but touchdowns were at 208. So what that means is that Kurt Warner, with the Super Bowl ring and 2 appearances, I guess it counts for 2 appearances, no? I would probably assume such. I would definitely assume so. Kurt Warner has the numbers. He has the Super Bowl. He has the accolades. He's on NFL Network. The guy is a stud. He's a total stud. He's a shoe-in. He's only maybe 2.5 years older than I am. I mean, I could still throw a football. I'm not going to try, but I can. Last year for the Arizona Cardinals, he started 15. He played in 15. He completed almost 400 yards at 513 attempts. So you knew at that point there was a decline. There was a cloud that was going to get bursted, and 2009 was exactly that year. It's not that he played great. He played great when he had to play great, and that's one of the reasons why he is great, because he played when he needed to be great. You could put that across a variety of situations. Michael Jordan with the Bulls, Shaquille O'Neal and Kobe Bryant for the Los Angeles Lakers, Sidney Crosby for the Pittsburgh Penguins, Evgeny Malkin, also one and the same. Put him in that conversation of guys doing absolutely everything that they need to do to ensure their place in sports history. Well, not only sports history, but their own personal history. Because as we had spoken to Rod Woodson here on the Rude Dog Show earlier for about 15 minutes, you'll have to go back to listen to it. But Rod was talking about having to sell a good majority of his things. Look, Kurt Warner has 1 ring. That makes him great. Rod Woodson, 71 interceptions. That makes him great. But in game, when the game was on the line, when it counted, despite not having a ring, Rod Woodson did it for the Pittsburgh Steelers for 10 seasons. 10 seasons. And now he stands firmly and I mean firmly and squarely, in the Hall of Fame where Kurt Warner will join him this weekend. I don't have anything bad to say about Kurt Warner. I think Kurt Warner is certainly one of the most underrated quarterbacks when you're talking about the laundry list of guys who obviously precede him. Ben Roethlisberger, maybe even Ernie Stautner, for that matter, if you really want to go the Mr. All-Purpose Ernie Stautner for the Steelers. Emmitt Smith for the Cowboys. Boomer Esiason did it. We spoke about him earlier. Look, there are so many other guys that go before him, but what matters is that you're in. And what's interesting in the NFL is regardless of whether you have a ring or not, and you are still in the NFL, that means that you're not for long if you don't win a championship. But if you put enough numbers up, you eventually will get in. And that's exactly what happens every year. Look at Dan Marino. Didn't win a ring, but in because of numbers alone. Rod Woodson won continuously with the Steelers. Whether or not he would have won one, I doubt it. I doubt Steelers weren't playing all that well. They were consistent in the 90s, but not consistent enough. That's one of the reasons why I believe he decided to take a lead to go to the West Coast, and some say it's the best coast. Potato. I don't have a dog in the fight. I live in California. But Rod Woodson decided to take a chance and come over to the San Francisco 49ers to play 1 year. Just 1 year. Maybe it wasn't his cup of tea. Maybe he didn't fit. Maybe it's not something he wanted to be at. But I will tell you this. The minute he went back to Baltimore after that 1 year stint with the 49ers, he found himself in a situation where he was playing with all the right pieces, all the right components. I couldn't picture him as a 49er. I mean, even though he played as a 49er, I still don't. I could never see him. It's not as if he was up on the podium on the steps of Canton saying, oh, my San Francisco 49er brothers and sisters. No, it didn't work that way. He was a Steeler first and a Raider last. That's all I can say. And what's interesting, and I was going to mention to Rod, is that it really pains me to know that he won a championship with the Baltimore Ravens. Now, look, I'm not dissing the Ravens. I'm not saying they're a horrible franchise or anything of that nature. But what I will say is this. They're a division foe. Even when the Steelers were in the AFC Central, it was still, you had your Cleveland Browns, still a foe nonetheless. I look at the Baltimore Ravens and the fact that he won the championship, Super Bowl 35, that he said, you know what, I'm good. Without him, could they have won? Maybe. But he provided the interceptions. He provided the spark. He still had the playing capabilities. It was obvious. But everybody else there, yeah, I know, still the Ravens. You're right, it was still the Ravens, still a foe. Steeler fans don't want to hear that Rod Woodson went on to play for the Baltimore Ravens. They hated Baltimore Ravens. But when you look at the Baltimore Ravens and what he accomplished while he was there winning a championship, nobody could take anything away from that. I didn't even have a chance to ask him, and I wish I could have, what his thoughts were and what type of ovation, if he received one, coming back to playing in the Steel City in a Ravens uniform. Now, that would have been interesting. Didn't get a chance, to ask. I had him for 15 minutes. What do you want? I'm here, Facebook Live. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show at Two Live Stews Radio Network. Oh, thank you. Thank you. I didn't know I was so loved here. That's great. Thank you, everybody, for the chat as well. I appreciate it. So thank you for that. But now is a time of year where you now have NFL training camps. And you're right. Sasha, you're absolutely right. Once a Steeler, always a Steeler. Much love to Rod Woodson, no doubt about it. But football time is here. There are so many great things about football season. The feeling, the kickoffs, interception returns. quarterback play, running backs, slicing and dicing, shredding defenses. Wide receivers with these audacious catches right in the end zone for 6. That's fantastic. I'm waiting to find out what the 2 Super Bowl participants are going to do this year. New England Patriots, will they go perfect? No, they won't. Don't worry about it. They won't. Don't worry your pretty little heads. It won't happen. But will the Atlanta Falcons find their way back? Yeah, Bill, Steelers time is here. And it's here as often as I can make it here. But everybody knows as well as I do, you have to diversify to live in this business. Anyway, this is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. On the Two Live Stews Radio Network right here on Spreaker. Find me here on Facebook Live. I'm here for about another 19 minutes. So chime in, ask your questions. If you have any comments, concerns, want to ask away. Ask away. Because all the answers are at my fingertips. Anyway, look, the NFL season, and I wanted to expand, speaking of season, I want to expand on this Martavis Bryant situation for half a minute. And by no means am I going to smash the NFL. Not my cup of tea. The NFL itself does its own thing. It always will. When you talk about players who deserve to, they pay their penance, they pay their time, they do what they got to do and head out. Guys like Martavis Bryant, as a pure example of that. Rod gave me a very vague answer, and he has a lot of things on his plate. I didn't expect for him to really answer or get into high, massive detail in regards to something that he is not completely aware of, because he doesn't work for the Steelers, he works for the Oakland Raiders. But this whole, first of all, this Le'Veon Bell issue, before we go into Martavis Bryant, is an issue in of itself. And I have a lot of reasons why I'm saying that. One of those reasons is that Le'Veon Bell would rather not take a discount, not take a break, in order to play for a team that could have easily gotten rid of him. Instead, he finds himself being given millions and millions and millions of dollars, millions, to play 1 year, decides not to. And you're right, Bill. You're right. Martavis Bryant did his time. He did his penance. He was in Nevada at a high school. He went to rehabilitation. He did all of those things. He went about things the right way, mentoring kids, because he recognized where he went wrong. He made the corrections. Now let him play. It's real simple. It's cut and dry. But he's playing on an adjacent field, but cannot have any conversations with anybody during practice time. Look, if Le'Veon Bell could call up Coach Tomlin, ring, 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 and talk to him about how he plans on coming back, and actually does make it back, that's between ownership and his agent. Le'Veon Bell, I don't know. I don't think I'll see him in a Steelers uniform this year. Steelers are not going to overpay a running back. Anybody who knows this knows they just won't do it. It's not going to happen. Then you flip the script to Martavis Bryant and think to yourself, man, this guy has the ability to be dynamic if he was on the field. Well, he's not. Somebody is holding up paperwork. Maybe he didn't staple it completely. Maybe he lost it, and maybe the dog ate it. I'd like to think that the NFL would recognize that Martavis Bryant has done everything he needed to do and can play. There's still a question physically whether he can play or not. That's never been a question. Nobody's ever doubted that. I've seen him play hundreds of times. Not only when he was with Clemson, but while he in a Steeler uniform. Thank you, David, for chiming in. Bill, thank you very much. I appreciate that, guys. Thank you for that as well. Since nobody's chatting, I'll go over somewhere else. The audio's better here today, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rudy Reyes on the Rude Dog Show. On the Two Live Stews Radio Network, I am Facebook Live, so thank you for tuning in. I appreciate the listenership. I think I've coined that. I need to somehow write down... forget it. It's too much work. It's too much work. It's not something I want to do. But Martavis Bryant is ready to go. I'm more than confident of that. I'm more than confident that Le'Veon Bell will end up playing. Question is when and for how much. I hate to think that guys in the NFL, because they feel that they're valuable enough, that they want the money that they're not going to get. The Steelers are not going to pay him and make him the richest running back in the NFL. It won't happen. There's no way around it. Nobody can tell me otherwise. Nobody can fool me into thinking that the sky is purple when I know it's blue. Le'Veon Bell will take a pay cut to play. If he doesn't, then he'll sit out and wait for the next season. Maybe, if the Steelers want him in the next season. They have the option to franchise tag him again, but the biggest question is whether or not they will. I think maybe an unfamiliar, or rather an unpopular subject, or how unpopular is it? There's a lot of rumors going around about marijuana usage and how using it in the NFL is still illegal. Exactly, Bill. You're right. Le'Veon Bell has not played a full season. And even if he did, he still not deserve it of being the highest paid running back. He's going to get paid big monies, but not what he wants. That's one of the reasons why a lot of these guys like Adrian Peterson, knowing the mileage he has underneath him, decides to drop the high dollar amount just to play for your team. And guess what? He'll be playing with the New Orleans Saints. There's a fact in of itself. When you talk about marijuana usage, I think you're going to have to look at studies. You're going to have to look at not only what types of players, like everybody remembers Ricky Williams and that marijuana holdout and how he was done with his career and he didn't want to play, and so ended up coming back, I think, for a season or so. I think when you look at the bigger picture between marijuana tie-in with the NFL, I just don't know. No, I know. I watch the game just like you do, just like everybody else does. Nobody wants to play for the love of the game because they want money. You bring up Troy Polamalu. Everybody wants to hear about Troy Polamalu. Troy Polamalu, one of the most giving, selfless acts to ever play the game. How many Steeler players have taken hits in order for other players to play? Ben Roethlisberger has done it a myriad of times. Play to play for the love, not for the money. But speaking of money, if the NFL can get sold the usage of marijuana, I mean, is it a hindrance? Yes. Will it work in the NFL? That I don't know. Good question, David. I think that Ben Roethlisberger's future is in doubt. Why? Because of the CTE scare. The new report that came out where 57% of former players end up with CTE situations. And that's one of the reasons why his wife said, you know what, you need to get out. But his words are softened by saying, oh, I'm going to give this year all I have, and you never know. Look, he could be gone. This could be his very last year. And I think that that's one of the reasons why guys enter the NFL. Good question, David. And you're right. The cap space could give Le'Veon Bell absolutely tons of room to move. The problem is that the Steelers will not pay him and make him the highest paid running back because he does more than just being a running back. Would you agree? He's on the outside, he's in the inside, he's in the slot. He's a guy you can depend on every single down, so as long as he reports his injury. Good question. Or rather, statement. Bill Kiefer, it doesn't enhance anyone. You're right. There's no enhancement whatsoever, but there's also negatives to that as well. Raises your heart speed in some, It disables your cognitive skills from being very sharp and on point. It does, again, there are negatives and positives, but whether or not you can say, or anybody can say, that marijuana would actually work for somebody who's at a higher end. No, you're right. Big Ben leaves. Steelers are in deep doo-doo. I say deep doo-doo because that's exactly what's going on. Ben Roethlisberger, one of those guys where you just look. You look for somebody else. Landry Jones will never be the answer. Never, ever on this planet be the answer. Good question. Sasha is chimed in. Everybody chimed in. This is Rudy Reyes on the Root Dog Show, the Two Live Stews Radio Network. I have about T-minus 10 minutes left here on the Two Live Stews Radio Network. I think when you look at the marijuana treatment overall in the NFL, I think it's something that needs a lot more look. Look, I'm not propagating and stating that the NFL should change their marijuana policy because I don't believe in that. The NFL needs to stay true to form when it comes to the marijuana and whether or not it's conducive to productivity. If it is, it won't happen. And if it's proven, it certainly won't happen. I can tell you that right now. You're right, Bill. Cousins is looking for a new team. Why? Because he didn't get the contract. The Redskins were really looking to try to stay away from giving him. Whether or not he deserves it is another story. Do I see Cousins being a fit for the Steelers? And no. But don't forget, Josh Dobbs out of Tennessee picked up in the 2017 NFL Draft to help cover the gap just in case something happens. Now, in all fairness, we're going to go back here last year to Landry Jones and the performance that I'm speaking of where he put up relatively decent numbers, touchdowns. It was fantastic. It was fantastic. The problem is that Landry Jones was too inconsistent every single game he was put in during the regular season, disabling me from even wanting to watch it. But I didn't have a choice. Am I not going to watch the team that I support because of one quarterback? No, not hardly. But it ruins the whole synonymous situation. Does Landry Jones stay? Does Landry Jones go? You said it, I didn't. Someone says Landry Jones sucks. Andre Elam sent from his Android device right here on the Rudolph Show. Look, I'm not a fan of Landry Jones. Let me just put that out there right now. I'm not. I haven't been. I never will be. It's not my forte. It's not for me. It's not. It's just not. Landry Jones is not the future of the Steelers football. That's it. End of story. David, that's a good question. Bell should take a cut. This is interesting. Maybe you should call in. That'd be a good idea, David. Call in. Bell should stay in the team. I agree. Take a pay cut, stay on the team. Take what was given to them because you don't know who's going to be under center. You don't want a bonus-heavy environment. Absolutely not. You want some signing bonuses for guys that you sign on to that are brand new. You're right, Andre, who's chatting right here on Spreaker. On Facebook Live, this is Rudy Reyes on the Root Dog Show on the Two Live Stews Radio Network. I believe the Steelers have the number 3 highest rated offense in the NFL right now. Yeah, you're right, Sasha. I agree. Steelers need a very mobile quarterback. Somebody not named Andre. Nice try, Rough Buff. Nice try. I'll give you that one. But you're right. Mobility for Steelers quarterback seems to be the way it is and the way it goes. Mobility from a quarterback perspective gives you time. It gives you reality and knowing what to do once you're in the pocket and have the scrambling ability to get out, to make the plays, or to gain that very first critical first down. That's what Ben Roethlisberger gives you. You can say whatever you want about somebody who has 2 titles. Ben Roethlisberger certainly does. Eli Manning also has 2, same draft class as Ben Roethlisberger. Eli Manning looking decent, but I'll be honest, when I look at the Giants overall and their offense, I just don't know that he can compare to a Ben Roethlisberger type mentality, type of play under center. He's not a mobile quarterback, neither was his brother, and if they had a third brother, he probably would not be either. There's no mobility in the Manning family. Even their dad was not as much of a mobile quarterback. He was a pocket passer. Trust me, guys like Tom Brady at pocket passing, yeah. Great offensive line, yeah. But one thing the Steelers did do is they kept that offensive line together. What they did was, David, is they took the money that was left by Le'Veon Bell on the table and applied it to Alejandro Villanueva. Why? Because he's deserving of it. That's the only reason. Had that money been locked up, had that have happened, he probably would have played it his last year contract. Then, in the following year, gave him more money, including a signing bonus. Not a lot, but a signing bonus. And you're talking about a friendly deal. And you're right, it would be a very friendly deal. Absolutely, extremely friendly. I like the Steelers' look right now. Archie Manning's quarterback for the Saints. Just want to throw that out there. And I don't know if, wait a minute, what? In college or the NFL, Ruppa? Oh, you're right. Absolutely. You're on point. Oh my God. You're on point, Bill. The Watt brothers do everything well. So, relational, I say so. You can put the Watts aside of the conversation. They're doing exactly what the Manning brothers have done. Peyton Manning doing it with 2 rings, 2 different teams. Eli Manning, 2 rings, same team. College, okay, well that's why. We're talking NFL. We're not even talking college. But that is a good point. That could be one of my upcoming shows here. I'm on show 171 today. But you're right, David, absolutely. Focus right now. The focus right now for the Steelers is, and this, I think this is always a focus, at least from what I understand, from what I hear, from what I've recognized from the team, from my dealings with former players, current players, and the like, that right now the focus is on cohesion on both sides of the ball. Antonio Brown stays hot. You get Juju Smith-Schuster involved in the process. Eli Rogers in the slot. It's going to have very similar looks, but it still may not have, unless for some reason the sky falls in the NFL, Roger Goodell decides to put Martavis Bryant back into the clink, if you will, for the Steelers. But you're talking about the focus of, that's exactly what the focus is right now. It's cohesion. Getting everybody on the same page, doing the same thing. And when you talk to Mike Tomlin, Coach Tomlin, he has his Tomlinisms. I don't necessarily agree with him, and they always, hear it for another 2 more years out of Mike Tomlin from the Steelers, because it's just who he is. It's a personality that he has, and that's something that you always get from him. Good point, Sasha. T.J. Watt, great addition. I don't know that he'll have the same injury-prone as his brother. Only time will tell. Hopefully not. But again, look, this is a game of chances. You're out in the field, there's a chance you get injured. You're out in the field, there's a chance you're going to twist your ankle. There are chances everywhere. There are chances everywhere. You take a chance getting up every morning. You take a chance, hopefully, training this young man in the NFL for this first year. And all of a sudden, you hope that he's going to be the best, that he doesn't get injured, he doesn't get hurt, he doesn't have an untimely accident or what have you. You take a chance getting out on the field every single day, sweating like everybody else does. So, it's a crapshoot. It really is. Look, this is the NFL. Anything could happen. Not for long, no free lunch, whatever acronym you want to use. This is Rudy Reyes on the Root Dog Show on the Two Life Stews Radio Network. I am out of time, but thank you so much for tuning in. Thanks for the chat, everybody. I appreciate that, so I'll give you a hearty applause there. Thank you for chatting. I appreciate it. Hey, this is Rudy Reyes on the Root Dog Show on the Two Life Stews Radio Network. I will see everybody tomorrow. Have a great day.